5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
There we go. Click the right buttons and it's amazing. Things work when you do that. Welcome along to LTID TV, Leicester Till I Die. I've got to say, after last night, I wish I fucking was. It was one of the most awful games I have seen, and I'm 64, and I've seen a few games in my time, and I lived through the Frank McClintock years, and I know Steve, and welcome along, Steve. You're much too young to remember those, but yeah, it made the Ian Holloway time look good. Let me put it that way. Look, you have a rule when you go to away matches, and or any match, to be honest with you, the 3-goal rule. Welcome along, mate. Explain that to us.
So usually, if we go 3-0 down, I've changed it to 2-0 down this season, but I decided to stay last night. Usually, if I go 3-0 down, I just leave because we're not getting back into the game, and it's better for my own mental health just to leave because, my God, it's depressing. But so I was in the toilet yesterday when the 3rd goal went in, and I heard the cheer, and I thought, oh, do I leave or do I wait to see what the reaction is from the fan base at halftime? And then I got started talking to Tom, who's on Blue Tinted Glasses as well, during halftime, and Jack at the final whistle. And then, we stayed for another sort of 10 minutes in the second half. And then when we noticed that they were passing the ball around the back and the goalkeeper was getting told off by the ref for time wasting, our own goalkeeper being 3-0 down and getting told off for time wasting, I said, fuck it, I'm going. So I ended up leaving around about sort of 60 minutes.
But you had a good evening. In fact, you had a better evening, didn't you? Because you found a local pub with the band on.
I did, yeah. That next to where I was staying, there was a gig on, and the sort of music that I like. It's sort of heavier, sort of not screaming, but some sort of screaming music, and doesn't half calm you down when you annoyed at the football to go and listen to somebody scream at you for half an hour. So I went and did that, and then went back to the hotel, and unfortunately, this is too much information, but I had explosive diarrhea in the going to bed. So overall, it was a positive experience in Southampton.
Did your parents have that same problem? I was only wondering because I know diarrhea runs in your genes.
Luckily, I'm very short, so.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. I probably wish I had done. Ronald and Blue are in. Hi, guys. Welcome along. Look, you did actually send thank you very much for sending this. You did actually send a video last night. Let's have a look what you were saying last night.
Right, well, I've left early. That's the earliest I've left for a very long time. We'll end up leaving on sort of 65 minutes or so. Atrocious. Some of the worst football I've seen so far this season. And look, we all know the players aren't good enough. We're all shouting at the players and saying that they're not fit to wear the shirt. But you've also got to question the manager because he's the one that is setting out the tactics. He's the one that sets out how we play. It's just not good enough. I think he's well out of his depth. And I'm honest with you, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the whole club right now. Travelling all this way to see players just not give a shit. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. So last away game for me this year. We go again in the new year. But yeah, at least it's not freezing cold and pissing it down. that's a positive, I guess. Anyway, off to the hotel. Cheers, guys.
But when the highlight of the evening is the fact that it's not pissing down and freezing, you know you're on a loser.
Yeah, 100%. It was not a good night at all.
I actually predicted us to draw with Stoke, and I think the win gave me false hope because it was a bit of a smash and grab. We were sort of. I often say it was a bit like Rorke's Drift. Going into this, and we always seem to do well away at Southampton, even forgetting the big result. And I don't know why I've still got them still celebrating a goal on the bottom there. That's my bad. But it was just, I looked at the team, and you said earlier, and we've got it there as the title. Is Marty the man for Leicester? You said is he out of his depth? And I'm beginning to think he is. I'll give the results of a poll that I did on social media whether, the fans think he should stay or he should go. Nearly burst into song then. Should he stay or should he go now? I accept that certain things had to be done yesterday because of player availability. But I still don't get, and we'll come on to things like subs and what have you later, but that starting 11... I just didn't get it. Why is he, all right, Skip, Skip at left back. Help me out here. Help me out, Steve.
So I think in regards to the starting 11, I expected this. Ricardo can't play 2 games in a week, so Hamza was always going to come in on that right-hand side. Having Thomas suspended and Christensen out injured, the only one to come in and play at left back would be Aluko. He got sent off. It was hot-headed. I could see it happening within sort of 4 or 5 minutes when he got his first yellow card. I was thinking, they're going to target him now. And they did. And look, he's 18, 19, whatever he is. He's a young player that somebody should go over to him as a more experienced player and say, look, mate, calm it down a little bit. Don't get sent off. So I can't really blame him for that because we've
We're going to come on to that in a bit because I'm going to totally disagree with you on that. I think he shoulders 100% of the blame, but we'll come on to that later. Do carry on.
But in regards to the rest of the lineup, it was pretty much what we played up against Stoke. So they got the result as bad as they were on Saturday. They got the result, so I expected quite a lot of the team to stay the same, other than the fullbacks. So it was what I expected.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. And when we sort of moan about the starting 11, and I do that regularly on the watch-alongs with Tom before kickoff, I couldn't moan about that because his hands are sort of kind of tied a little bit, aren't they?
They are for sure. My only query about the way we set up is that in the last 3 games, the 2 games we won at least, and the Middlesbrough game before that where we drew, we were pretty poor for all of the game, and we just got lucky in moments where we managed to score. And I don't know what he can do to change this team other than change the tactics, the formation we're playing that will suit them better and make us a bit more sort of defensively solid. It was obvious that if you looked at how Southampton played against Charlton, they punished the high line, and we have one of the slowest centre backs in the league, and then Wout Fass, who can go running and disappear. What did the manager expect to set up like this, sit up the high line, and then just get beaten consistently on the break? You put it down the fullbacks. We know Hamza's not quick. Now Aluko is quick, but he was on a yellow card. You put it down the line, and at that point, you basically threw on goal. So as much as you can say this is the line the manager should be picking, I don't think it's the lineup. I think it's the tactics that are the main issue. And, he's the one that shoulders the entirety of that blame for sure.
Oh, no. Again, yes. We are going to be talking a lot. It's going to be a bit of a different review because I think we're going to be talking not so much about individual performances and tactics as the whole thing. We've said this, and I say this on every match. Look, I know Ramsey is out, and that's a huge miss. But I honestly think we are losing something. What he thinks we're gaining by putting James in that number 10 role, I honestly think we're losing more by not having him in the number 6 role.
Yeah, for sure. We don't have that gate crashing midfielder that can, quite a lot of the time in those positions, you're running into the box late and you're not tracked because, you're running from deep. So you're less likely to be thought about. Playing him in the 10, you're not playing to his strengths. And that's where we're going wrong consistently is that we're not playing to the team's strengths with how we're set up. And look, I have made my opinions very clear on a lot of this squad. I think you can say 99% of these players, I would not care if they left tomorrow.
Yeah.
They are a disgrace, and quite a lot of them, I would happily just let go on a free transfer. And as much as you can have a go at the players, sometimes you need to shine the light on the manager at the same time. And there are people that say we can't sack the manager. If we do, it's just insanity. We keep sacking the manager. But if your manager is out of his depth and he's not playing to the ability of the squad, that because I don't actually, that's not even true, because I think he probably is playing to the ability of the squad. But I just don't think there's no leadership. Even if you're poor, like when we're in the Premier League and Pearson was losing every week, we still had players that were trying.
Yeah,
and you knew if Pearson was calling out these players behind closed doors, he would get respect from the squad. And, because he's a manager that deserves respect and has earned that respect. With Marty, I don't think you can go into that dressing room and throw a water bottle at Vestergaard's head and say, this is a disgrace. You're all better than this, because they'll just be like, okay, we don't want you here anymore. And they'll stop playing for him anyway. I don't even know if they are playing for him. I just don't. So if the only thing we can do is change the manager and hope for a different result, then that's a depressing thing to say. But the whole thing is just depressing, Chris. It really is just depressing.
I'm going to go off and get on the phone to the Samaritans in a minute. And can I just say, the reason I'm wearing this particular shirt today is because it is the most confusing and unstable shirt that I've got, which basically sums up Leicester at the moment. So, Ben, well done, mate. I hope you're better. I know you were in hospital last night, but I know that's not fun, but it was probably more fun than watching this game. So that's how bad it was. Kevin, hi, mate. How are you doing?
Chris, really quickly. Kevin, if your answer is Abdul Fatawu, then please call him out, because he's been awful. He was terrible last night, and he's not been great for a long, long time. So please mention the player that you want to call out, because I'm happy to jump in and probably agree with you. There's only 2 players in this squad that I think are actually trying, and one of them is JJ.
Yes, and he's not even technically our player yet, is he?
Exactly.
I mean, I've been saying this for a while. And funny enough, I did an interview yesterday afternoon for Sky Germany, who were covering this match, and they were asking me about the players, and I didn't quite put it in this way, but I've said this on this channel before. Our players are basically, at the end of last season, were a pile of turd. We have sold the best of that turd. You know what I mean? And well done, as we know, we've joked to John Rudkin for getting 2 million for Cody and this for JJ. And it seems the fans of all these clubs hate the players that they bought from Leicester. Well, they're yours now. So basically what he's left with is the shit of the shit. Bekovic, I have to say that humble pie is going down very, very well, but he is actually coming out with a little bit of, probably a little bit more than a little bit of credit for his performances. JJ, we know, is probably, like they say, the one player that stands out. Ramsey, well, he's injured, not his fault. And Vitesse, well, who is he? I've not seen him. I think we might actually see more of Edouard than we do of him.
And Carranza as well, who just, I think he will end up getting sent back in January, because he's not anything, is he? He's not offering anything. And if you can't get ahead of Jordan Ayew and Patson Daka as a strike force, then you probably won't make it here either.
Oh no, and Daka's getting in front of you. That kind of sums it up. It doesn't sound too good, Ben, but like I say, I hope you are well now. Like I say, so that's my one argument. And look, he absolutely screams about how good Bobby De Cova-Reid is. He loves him as a player. He's one of his favourite players. He does this, he does that. Why isn't he starting? If he's that good, and I get fed up with this. Like, well, he's flown back from Jamaica, and I've said to you before on these shows, I know players don't fly economy. They're not in a Ryanair seat with their knees under the chin for 11 hours. They're in business. We're at least in business with a flatbed. I flew business back from Australia, and I'll tell you what, was the best flight I ever had. And I got off there like I was a spring, chicken. and do it. Yeah. So why aren't they being played? Because they can't be physically tired. And this is 2 games since he's landed back anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's because we won on Saturday. He didn't want to change too much of a winning side. So I think that's probably where it came in. I think we'll see changes again on Saturday. But again, that's another issue, is that even if we win, we don't change the side as much. We had to make some changes on Tuesday because of Ricardo not being able to play 2 games in a few days and Thomas being suspended. But you can guarantee that Ricardo comes back in and Thomas comes back in at the weekend. You'll probably see, I don't know if Skip will be dropped, because I don't think he played all that bad yesterday when he was dropping at left back. Oh God, we might have Oliver Skip play left back going forward. That's not something I've yeah, exactly. You might see Abdul drop out for Bobby then, because I think he needs a bit of a rest. So he's never playing a consistent side. We're never building up that team of players that play 90 minutes or 70 minutes every game, starting every game, because he keeps changing it.
But then again, like you say, yeah, I think there's going to be changes. But if he's bringing Bobby on and playing him, on the right wing, that's not his best position.
Yeah, to be honest,
who do you play there though? We sold Casey McAteer.
Yeah, I guess you just play Bobby and hope that he does something. Maybe Jordan Ayew, he's played on the wing before. It's not good, is it? Like, with the options that we're talking about aren't great. It just shows how far we've fallen. That we are just so poor. But Ronald, I don't think Ricardo will play left back because Thomas is back on Saturday, so he'll play left back and Ricardo will play right back. But the options we've got on the bench are also just as bad, that are out of form. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to suggest. I'm lucky I don't get paid sort of 50 grand a week to make these decisions. But I'm also the mug that drive down to Southampton on Tuesday night to watch us get smashed 3-0. So
yeah, but I live at just outside Bournemouth, which obviously is down the coast from Southampton. And in that Nigel Pearson year that you mentioned before, I had a season ticket, me and my son, and we drove up. It was a 7.5 hour return journey. Then you've got to add on, that's without stops, but you've got to add on, toilet breaks and food breaks and what have you. Petrol's not cheap. And then you say, you pay for food at motorway services, which is, costs a fortune. But we did it every week. Well, not every week, every home game. But we saw that the players were trying. We weren't getting pummeled. You could blame maybe Pearson's tactics, whatever, but those players were really giving it and trying, and we didn't mind doing it. I certainly wouldn't be doing that now for this lot.
No, and that's it. I'm not going to another away game until at least the new year. I'm second guessing whether or not I just sell my ticket for the home games going up to Christmas. I won't, because at the end of the day, it's still something that I like doing, and I say it out loud, but actually I know that I'll go to the home games because I'm an idiot. But I like the people I go with or sort of stand with. So if I was somebody that was paying, if it was like last year where I wasn't a season ticket holder and I was paying per game, which is sort of anywhere between sort of 50 and 60 quid. I think it averaged about £54 a game for the entirety of the season. That's close to sort of £1,400 a year to watch Leicester play at home. I wouldn't be doing it. If somebody said to me, if I wasn't a season ticket holder and they said, would you go? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go to any games for the rest of the year, because the disappointment and the depression you get watching a bunch of people earn more in a week than you do in a year, quite a lot of the time. Give a shit. Whereas you're there supporting a club that in 5 years' time they're not going to be part of. You know, if not saying we will, but if we get relegated to League One, we're still going to be going to the games. We're still going to be talking about Leicester because that's what we do, because we love the club.
Yeah.
We are always going to be the fan base, the supporter base that follows them through thick and thin. These players don't give a shit. They don't care. And we can have a go at the manager, and I will have a go at the manager because I think he deserves it as well. But let's not kid ourselves. These players are an absolute disgrace, and they are not fit to wear the shirt.
Can't argue with that at all, and we'll see that when we come to man of the match and all those later. I love your choice. I were even madder than you did on my choice. But let's get the elephant in the room out the way, because Aluko, everybody's going on. Oh, and I really tore a strip off him last night on the post match reaction. Everyone's saying, well, look, it was his first game. He was trying to impress, blah, blah, blah. This guy's 18 years old. He can smoke. He can have sex. He could be a father with a 2-year-old child by now. He can vote who he wants to run the country. He's been playing football since the age of, I don't know, let's say 10. It could have been younger, might be a little bit older. He's played for the under 17s, 19s, 21s, or whatever the teams were he played. The laws, as far as I know, if you're playing football for the under-21s, is exactly the same as it is if you're playing for the senior team. So when you're on a yellow card and he's playing for the under-21s, he would know that if he did something stupid, that he's going to get another yellow card. Now, you could debate whether the first yellow card was actually deserved. That's fine. But he was on the yellow card. He gave this referee, who was totally shit on the night, absolutely, he was so biased. I thought he'd got, their manager's dick up his arse as he was running round. But, with Aluko, that was totally his fault.
Yeah, I agree. You look at Hamza got booked in the second minute, and he didn't get another yellow card. But that's experience. That's somebody that knows that, he's already been booked and that he should, tone it down a little bit. I also guess that it helped that they were already 3-0 down and he wasn't really trying anyway. But my thing with Aluko is, he's not a natural left back. He's a right back or centre back. So I think that he was being played out of position to an extent. I also think you do get that this is my first start for a professional football club. I want to go out there and impress. And to be fair, he didn't look like he was out of his depth when he was not tackling players or putting in a foul. I do think that there is an element of, look, he's only 18. He's been thrown in at the deep end against Southampton, who have a Premier League quality squad, and their winger is a lot better than anybody in the 21s that he come up against. So, look, he takes it on the chin. He realizes that he made a mistake, and he'll be called out for the mistake that he made. But also, out of everybody in that team, I don't think he deserves the blame over anybody else necessarily, because by the time he got sent off, we were already 2-0 down. The game was already gone.
I agree, and I'm not blaming him for the loss, and I have made it clear that had he stayed on for 90 minutes, we would have still lost that game. I'm not saying that, he was the cause, and just going down to 10 men doesn't mean that you're going to lose a game. Or as excited as we get when an opposition player gets sent off, it doesn't mean that, that we're just going to collapse. Sometimes the 10 men beat the 11 men. But what I'm saying is it doesn't help. And he has to take responsibility. And I'm not going to say let him off because it was his first game, let him off because he's only 18. He's been playing football since, I don't know when. He's played at different levels. The rules are exactly the same. I'm sure, as under 21, the referee doesn't come over and go, oh, naughty little boy, you shouldn't be doing that. We're in a world where I feel we can't criticise people because of their race, creed, sex, age, but we should be able to. The guy was absolutely stupid. And
I completely agree. I think he was stupid, but then you would also have to say, why wasn't there somebody in the squad that's a leader like Chaldue, who's the captain, or a Vestergaard? Just walk over to him when he's on a yellow card and say, that was silly, but be better. Or, because I could see when we got the first yellow card, I was talking to the guy next to me and I said, we've got to be careful here because he's going to get sent off. And a few minutes later, he got sent off. The manager should, if I can see that, and I'm watching it from the stands, why can't the manager say, oh, hang on, the ball's gone out of play. Somebody feign an injury just really quickly. Let's have a chat and calm things down and say to him, look, don't do anything stupid. So, look, yes, no, I agree. You should be able to criticize. I think you should be able to criticize, and he was stupid, and he'll accept that. He won't make that mistake again for sure. But also, there are other elements that you can call out, like the manager and the players, that should say they are professional. They've been doing it for years and years and years. Walk over, because Jamie Vardy would have gone over to say something. Would have gone over and said something.
I agree totally. I agree 100%. We've seen it in the past, when a midfielder's been on a yellow card, you take them off because they're more likely, get a yellow card, a red card. You do that, where was the most senior player? And when we're then back to, where's the leaders on the pitch?
Exactly. Exactly.
I think even if we'd got Ricardo on, I don't think it would have. I mean, Chowdhury was captain. What was he doing? Why didn't he go over and say,
exactly? And I agree, Ricardo wouldn't have done it as well, because I think Ricardo is a poor leader himself. I don't think there's anybody in this squad right now that has the temerity to go out and call players out because they haven't got the history of, or so like Vardy, or last season, he's been at the club, he saw all the success, he's got the respect of the fans, he's got respect of the people around the club. If he was to walk into that change room and say that was a fucking disgrace, a lot of people would say, fair enough, you deserve to say it, but there's nobody in this dressing room that has been there through the good and the bad, okay, the relegations or whatever, but could also stand up and say, A, I'm performing how I should be. I'll give 100% because nobody is. And B, have the respect of the players around them to call them out because they're all too pally. Ricardo's been here for 8 years now. He'll get along with Vestergaard and Fass and Winks and all these players. They're happy to call out a manager and go behind the manager's back to complain to the ownership. But I don't think anybody would call out individual players themselves whilst they're in that dressing room, and that's why it's down to the manager. And when I mentioned Pearson being the one, because Pearson, when he was doing it, or if he did it, he had Casper, he had Vardy, he had Morgan, Albrighton, all these players that you'd say that's a core of a dressing room that you want, players that will call out players, because there's that it was well known that if there was a disciplinary issue, the manager wouldn't do the issuing of the fines or whatever. It was the players. So there was the council of Morgan, Morgan, Casper, and somebody else at the club. It might have been Vasilowski, where if there was an issue, they'd go speak to them, and then they get talked about in the group. Is that? I don't think there's anybody in this group now you could say is the leader that they'd go to and say, "Hey, I've got an issue with this. What can I do?" If somebody, say if Skip went to Ricardo and was like, "Oh, Winks is having to go at my hair because I'm bald," Ricardo wouldn't go, "I'm going to call Winks over and tell him to pack in." He'd probably laugh along and say, "Well, you are losing it a little bit, mate." And that's just the atmosphere we've got. There's genuinely no leaders there. And that's crazy to say. It really is, because we were in a situation when Enzo came in and we knew that we needed leaders. So we brought in, as much as we don't like him as a footballer, we brought in Connor Cody, who can talk and talk and talk, but he was technically a leader to an extent. But you still have Vardy and Albrighton and these players that you could rely on. There's none of that. And Marty hasn't got a backbone enough to be able to do that. He's not got enough goodwill with the fan base or the players to say, that's it, fuck off, get out of the club, you're not playing, because he bows down to them and he's out of his depth. He's just clearly out of his depth.
Is that just Marty, though, or is that generally, because we always say all players have got too much power these days, a manager like Ferguson or Brian Clough would not get on these days, they'd have player revolts every other week.
Yeah, I think you are right. I think that certain managers wouldn't make it in today's day and age, but there is also managers that do still succeed with that aspect. I didn't want him in the summer, but Sean Dyche is one that you look at and say, nobody's taking the piss out of Sean Dyche, and he's the leader, isn't he? You could Pep Guardiola, he's the best manager in the world, or has been previously. He's managed over 1,000 games. What he says goes at a football club. You had that with Nigel Pearson for an extent. What he said goes. Even Brendan Rodgers as well for a couple of years is what he said goes. But you don't get that with this manager right now because he doesn't have the history to back it up. He's not a respected former player. He's not a manager that has been successful everywhere he's gone. He's just... I likened him to Pepe Le Pew a few weeks ago because that's exactly how... And he's got that sort of silvery bit in his hair as well. That's exactly what he looks a bit like, a slimy guy. He's not, but he would just be like, yeah, the players can do what they like. It's okay. We're all working together. No, mate, call them shit. Tell them they're not playing. The only reason that some of these players are playing, like Wout Faes, like Harry Winks, like Patson Daka, is because they're on significant amount of money and you can't just drop an asset because you're not going to have selling value anyway. But then you're just wasting that money, and the club will be like, "Well, why aren't you playing these players?"
Yes. Look, I can't argue with any of that. Apparently, I don't know that I heard this right or not. So again, that was Marty Cifuentes' 1,000th game as a manager.
No, Pep Guardiola's.
Was it? Oh, I thought.
It was Pep's. A couple of weeks ago, he had 1,000 games in management. So but that back to what I said is that he's got the experience, and what he says goes. You can't have that with Marty. I just don't think it works.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. You've just mentioned it. Then one of the names that I wanted to come in the summer was Sean Dyche, because. We saw with Rude, I don't think he had the control over the players at all. Sean Dyche would walk in and he'd say jump and everybody go, how high, sir? He's one of the, like I say, old school. But what I like about him, and look what he's done with Nottingham Forest, all right, they're not sprinting away, but they're in a hell of a lot better position than they were when he took over. I can still say he will go in and he will go, this formation isn't fucking working. You shit. And I know that because last season you played this under Ruud van Nistelrooy and you lost 17 games on the trot. And we've also lost some of the better, in inverted commas, players. And so why we're trying to play the thing that didn't work last season when we lost 17 in a row, same formation, basically the same players bar, one player, outfield player. Why are we still doing that? And I think he would have actually played a system that suits the players better.
So, not talking about Ruud, but there's a prime example of a manager coming into a football club and saying instantly, "You're not who I want to hear. Go find another club." And that was Enzo Maresca. When he turned up at Leicester, he said to several players, "You're not going to play. You're not going to fit my system. Off you go." And okay, I don't think Marty could have done that because he came in so late into the summer window. He didn't really have a preseason with the squad. So, but that's down to the club, not the manager. They should have sacked Ruud or put him on gardening leave way into the summer. As soon as the last game was played or the final ball was kicked, say, Ruud, we are going to sack you. It's going to be on this day, but right now you're not our manager. Our search goes for someone else. And if it's a free agent that they were looking for, because that's what it looked like they were going for, they were never going to spend money to get a manager out of a club, then you don't maybe appoint that manager, but you say, here's a contract, you'll start on this date, get things in order now, get the ball rolling. But the club left it so long that I think they went on a 4-week holiday, Chris. I think they were in Thailand sipping some coconuts for a few weeks because nothing happened. How many times did people over the summer say, what's happening? There's no movement whatsoever. Okay, it's the off period. I don't care. The football club doesn't shut down for 4 weeks a year. It doesn't. If there's an international break, they don't go, well, that's 2 weeks. We can just fuck off and have a jolly. So a manager should have been appointed early on and said, these are the players I don't want here. Get them gone. I don't care how much that you're going to get for them. Get them gone. But just
I have a feeling, and I could be wrong here. I'm going to take you back to Brendan Rodgers. So when Brendan Rodgers came in, he came in before the end of the season. Celtic wanted him to stay till the end of the season, and I believe Leicester said, no, we want you ASAP.
Yeah,
so that season was a write-off. We weren't going to get relegated. We weren't going to get into Europe. We were just sort of there bobbing about in the middle. But what that gave Brendan Rodgers was the end. I think it was about 10 games that he had when he came in, 10 or 12 games, to assess the players that he'd got in proper match day situations, not in bloody stupid friendlies where we play 4 lots of 45 minutes or anything like that. These are proper matches, and he can look and go, he's all right, or I could work on him and maybe he's fucking shit, get him out of it.
Yeah.
And so when Toad came to the start of the next season, we were raring to go.
Yeah, no, exactly. When Rodgers, he could have a look at the squad and say who he wanted to be here and who he isn't. I think maybe the club are waiting to have the technical director, whoever that may be, come into the club, maybe give Marty sort of 3 or 4 games under him, and then if he's not working, then he'll get gone from there. So we're probably going to be stuck with him until sort of February, March time. That also means that we're going to give a January window to Marty, potentially, if we look at spending any money. Historically, like, he's got 1 decent signing so far with JJ. I'm not sure about Ramsey because of his injury record and his sending off, and Carranza is just a nobody. But just with what Prashad said here in the chat, like, is Marty the best of a bad financial situation? Probably, but if we are given the 6-point deduction or even a 9-point deduction, that takes us down to sort of 20th, 21st in the league. If we look at how we went down from the Premier League the first time, when it was a perfect storm of players running down their contract, not wanting to be here, not wanting to get injured because they had a big deal potentially lined up in the summer, as with like Southampton, who went to Atletico Madrid, and Tillemans went to Villa. These players aren't going to give 100%, which means that we could be in a perfect situation again where a points deduction and players not giving a shit and a manager is out of his depth means that we could potentially, I'm not saying we will, but you can't say anything is impossible nowadays. We won the Premier League at 5,000 to 1. We are better odds now to get relegated than we were winning the Premier League. It could actually happen. And at that point, is the financial situation and the burden you're going to get from getting relegated to League One worse than sacking a manager who's out of his depth? Well, then the question then goes to, who do you bring in? Well, the joy about all of this is that we don't make that decision. We can talk and talk and talk about whoever the club wants to bring in, but it's down to 1 man, maybe 2 men that make that choice. And even then, we've heard reports that even they don't agree on a manager that they want to bring in. It was Cooper last summer, and Top didn't want him, but Rudkin did. And then it was Ruud van Nistelrooy, but Rudkin didn't want Ruud, but Top did. And now this summer, it was who the fuck wants to be the manager? Yeah.
It's interesting. Rudkin didn't want Ruud van Nistelrooy. Maybe we are misjudging this guy. Get that shirt out. That's what I'm saying. I actually said that I do think Marty Cifuentes has probably one of the safest jobs in the Championship, because can we afford to sack him? We could not sack Ruud van Nistelrooy last season because we'd already sacked Cooper, and we couldn't afford 2 playoffs in that season. So Ruud van Nistelrooy's sacking has gone financially into this season, which makes me think, well, hang on, no matter how bad he is, we can't afford to sack Cifuentes this season. We'll have to wait until. So has he got that? I don't say job guarantee, but I just can't see him being sacked because of that reason.
Well, it depends on what the finances that we sold in the summer works for, because bear in mind some of it was pure profit as well. So it would. I can't imagine he's going to be on a significant. He's probably on £2 million there or thereabouts. I don't think the club are going to give him sort of the Brendan Rodgers £8 or £9 million a year, the Ruud van Nistelrooy £3 million a year. He's not a manager that is was highly sought after, is he? So he's probably on sort of £1.5-2 million a year. I think the club could probably stretch to get rid of him. But again, that won't happen until we bring a technical director in, because why make that choice?
That leads me very nicely onto my next point, and I'm going to have to thank Scott Blanky for this, because I hadn't seen this, and he sent me this message, and I didn't think it will happen. He doesn't think it will happen, but he did say, "Well, it's a fair point to mention it." But that is the fact that Glasgow Rangers have sacked their CEO Stewart and sporting director Thelwell. Thelwell joined them, I think, in December. and he came from Everton. Not sure where the other guy's coming from. I'm just trying. I hate the internet on stories. You've got to go through 3/4 of a page until you get to the point they're trying to get. Stewart was a former Manchester United CEO. I mean, you've got two people there out of a job that have done the job. All right, we could turn around and say, well, what? How did they manage to go on at the Rangers? And those, say, for example, two people that you could look at and go, well, we're not going to pay any compensation.
I wouldn't, because there are plenty of other director of footballs out there that can do a job that also wouldn't cost you any money. So why would you go for a manager, for a director of football that has done an awful job? He's not even lasted a full year at Rangers, you know, and they look well off it with the signings that they brought in the summer. Yeah. They look well off it. So why would you back yourself in bringing a worse director of football than John Rudkin? You know, that's like, you know, me wanking you off while stabbing you in the back at the same time. You know, it's like, here's a compliment, but also, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm not saying I'm desperate, but yeah, it sounds quite fun to me.
I'm not sure if that will be the case, because I think there might also be some potential compensation depending on what the sacking clause is in that sort of sense. Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I said I don't think it'll happen, and I don't want it because of the reasons you've said. Scott said the same, but it was just interesting that hey, we're looking for those two positions. Very quickly, can we talk about the substitutions? Because, you know, like you said, we've got a new left back in Skip, apparently. He was that good that he kept the position. I mean, why the hell didn't we go three at the back? And would that have been any worse? And I'm not, look, in fairness, Skip was no worse than anybody else yesterday. I'm not, you know, hanging the blame on him. And as recent games, you know, he's played in a lot of our better games. I'd sooner have him on the pitch than Samari. Sorry, Tom, if you're watching. But, you know, again, why didn't we go to three at the back? And then you look at some of the changes. Yeah, Fatawu, he didn't have his best game. Mavididi wasn't having a brilliant game, but they're both goal scorers. You know, we take them off.
Limitation, wasn't it? I think the manager thought, well, the worst thing we can do right now is lose sort of 7-8, 9-0. Maybe it was him sort of saving his job a little bit. So he basically took the sting out of the game. We went more defensive. We kept hold of the ball. Didn't really, because I don't think we had a single shot on target after the sending off.
No, we did. The 20th minute was the last time. The 20th minute was the last time we had a shot on target.
Exactly. So it's very much damage limitations. I couldn't tell you anything about I'd probably say sort of Ayew and Samari after that, the Decover, Reed and Page and Thomas, because I was gone for two of them, and I don't even remember Bobby Reed coming on. So, you know, but I would say that Samari in that midfield, in the 15 minutes I saw of him, he made one tackle and it went out of play for a throw-in. Ayew is the typical Jordan Ayew, put the ball up the pitch and he'll fall over and not get anywhere near it. So, yeah, I think it was just a case of taking the sting out of the game. And hoping they didn't batter us by even more.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? I would sooner have seen us lose 5-0 but go down fighting than 3-0 and just to sort of, so we'd, you know, I mean, could it have been 9-0 and they got their own back? Quite possibly. You know, I'm not going to say that couldn't have happened yesterday, but I wanted to see that team fight, and in that second half on its own, I mean, the whole match I think is the worst this season for me. And I think that second half is the worst 45 minutes. To be honest with you, I think I'd sooner watch one of the games where Ruud was in charge than that one back again. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, I think yesterday's game was worse than anything Ruud van Nistelrooy put up on a plate last season. I can't see anything from that game that made me think, oh, you know, A, the team are okay, and B, the manager wants to be here as well. Like, he looks a bit like a deer in the headlights. But yeah, you're right. Like, I would have rather have seen a game where we didn't score a single goal under Ruud van Nistelrooy, but at least they were running around compared to that shit last night, because they weren't. And again, let me be very clear here to anybody that's watching. If your goalkeeper, when you're 3-0 down, is getting told off by the ref for time wasting in the 50th minute, then that is an absolute disgrace. There was a moment where I stood next to Tom and they were passing the ball backwards and forwards and we were allaying because you were like, wow, we had the ball. But that's all we had to shout about. There was nothing else, and even then we gave the ball away. It was fucking atrocious. It was atrocious. And again, that's confirmed to me that I don't want to go to any more away games this year.
And I'm just going to go back to somebody said earlier that Aluko is not a left back. His main position is right back, but his other positions are centre back and left back. So he can play in that role. And they also said that, this is, he shouldn't have been thrown into this game. And I agree. Why aren't these players, who looked to be, I know it was pre-season, but looked to be pretty decent. Why weren't they blooded during the, games up till now?
You raised a very good point, because if Aluko had been giving sort of 10, 15 minutes here or there, then he wouldn't have been the hot-headed fullback that he was yesterday. And that's down to the manager who Aluko did well in pre-season, and then we've not seen him even in the cup game. We didn't see him once. He wasn't on the bench. He wasn't given any minutes. And then suddenly you go, here's Southampton, who have a Premier League quality side that have been underperforming but have a new sort of caretaker manager that has won 3 in a row. Here, you go up against a form full wing-back or attacking midfielder or whatever. It was never going to work.
No. I mean, I'd take their caretaker manager at Leicester at the moment, but if he doesn't get that job, somebody is bent. Right. Look, I asked, as we always do after the post-match team performances. You gave them 1. Now I've got to say that was very generous of you.
Yep. Yeah, it was. Yep.
Yeah. Jim actually went 3 on the basis that we were all right for the first 13 minutes, and that was his percentage of the 10 points was 3. So that's why they got 3. Alan, who does he goes to the match as well. He wasn't there yesterday, but he gave them 0. And I think in the 5 odd years that I've been doing this with Alan, that's only ever the second 0 he's got. I actually gave the team performance -5.
Okay.
I just thought, and I've just said, it was disgusting. None of the players, like you said, wanted to be there. And it's sad that, we know that it's going to take 3 or 4 years to sort out PSR because it's got to go through the system. It's like putting, rats down a drain pipe. You've got to let them fall and go around and get out the other end. And we've got quite a few rats at the moment. But it's the same with these players as well. We can't get rid of them. And on the day when, I don't know if it's today or not, but it's Perez has announced that he came to Leicester because he had no choice. He didn't want to come. He wanted to go back to Spain. These players don't, like you said, don't want to be there. But are we going to be able to sell them? Would we not sell them in the summer if anybody was really interested? Because who's going to look at that game and go, I want to buy Samare, I want to buy Winks, Skip, whatever? They're not, are they?
Well, the good news is they leave for free in the summer. I mean, it's another sort of black mark against the club in the sense of they've allowed other players to leave on a free transfer when they could have got a transfer fee for them, i.e. Daka in the summer, i.e. Samare 2 years ago. There were offers for these players on the table that we didn't, Daka, we had a Spanish club had a £4 million offer rejected by Leicester because they wanted 10 million for him. And I'm like, why? Like, sell him for £4 million and reinvest that into another striker that like Richard Kone, who we were linked with, So there's Ricardo, Winks, Ayew, Samare, and there's a couple of other people that are out of contract in the summer that will just leave for free, and that's it. And then we're going to be stuck with Vestergaard for another year, Dikoda Vareed for another year, Hamza Chowdhury for another year, Luke Thomas for another 4 years. Okay, I don't think Thomas is necessarily the problem because he's just not good enough, but I think he does care for the club. But he's not the main issue in this scenario. It's the players that are on massive wages that don't want to be here and are just taking they're running around the park. I could walk down to my local park, right? Find a couple of 17-year-olds that are playing football in front of a goal, and they put more effort in than Oliver Skip or Harry Winks.
Yeah, And I would say as well that you could also see that those players can actually pass a ball to each other, which is more than some of our players can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, they're going to go. I mean, Vestergaard, you would argue, was unlikely to go up at this level. Is probably our best choice. And the reason we started, I think, why put a youngster in his least favourite position on his debut. Again, it was because of injuries and suspensions. You know, we're having to make do with what. You know, it's like Rorke's Drift, like I keep always referring to. You know, got people in the hospital with broken legs and one eye hanging out, still picking up a gun and having to shoot. I'm just looking. Is Wout Faes due out this year or when is he?
Next season. So he's got one more year.
Yeah, we got him for the year, for fuck's sake. Right, okay. Well, I went -2. Sorry, -5, because I say I was that pissed off with. And that's the thing with the reaction, is it's what you get raw because we're doing it straight after the game. You went 1, which, as I say, I particularly think was being very generous of you, but you did at least not see the last 35 or 25 minutes, whatever it was. Man of the match, he gave it to nobody. He said nobody was good enough to get the man of the match award, which basically went to agreed with you because you said the away fans for travelling down.
Yeah, I mean, look, we took just over 1,000 fans to the game yesterday. Look, I'm quite lucky in the sense that I was going down for work, so I managed to get work to pay for my hotel and my food, so that was covered. They won't pay for the ticket because it's not classed as entertainment. Because nobody can.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
never
you can't put that expenses, can you? You can't be like, oh, we're paying for this because it's entertainment. HMRC will be like, no, it's not.
No.
But there were fans that had driven sort of 2.5, 3 hours to get down there. Got down there at 6 o'clock, and they were back on the bus by sort of 8:30. You know, that's how bad it was. So I think if anybody that made the trip down there, like myself, well done. You deserve a clap on the back, and also you deserve your fucking ticket being paid back to you by the club because that was a disgrace.
I think we've said that for a few games, last season as well. I went one step further than you though, and one step further than Alan. And based on the performance on the pitch, I've actually given my man of the match to Gavin Ward.
Who's that?
The referee.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
Because he had, if you're a Southampton fan, and look, I am not saying here, I'm not one of these that's going to sit here and go, the referee cost us and all that and that. No, we would have lost that game, whoever had been a referee in. But he was absolutely, in my eyes, fucking useless. Yeah, he was so far up Southampton's arse, it was untrue. Nothing was going for us, and it wasn't the fact that we were getting fouls and we weren't getting it. I actually applauded. One of my highlights of the match was him actually giving us a free kick.
Yeah, there were times where it looked like the ref was on their side, but then I guess we've said that quite regularly this season about referees because the officiating in the Championship and the EFL as a whole is one of the worst in world football. For these referees are professional referees, and they are awful. There's a reason why not many referees make the step up to the Premier League. There was one good referee that we had a couple of years ago. I can't remember his name, but he was really good for the 3 or 4 games that we had of him, and he's made the step up to the Premier League, and he's one of the best Premier League referees now. I can't see anybody. Sorry, yeah, there was one referee that we had sort of 3 or 4 times in the Championship the first time.
Was it a gentleman of colour?
Yeah, it was a black referee. I don't know the name of the referee itself.
Yeah, I was impressed with him. Yes.
Yeah, and he's made the step up, and he's a genuinely really good referee. But you can't say anybody else in this league, referee wise, would make the step up to the Premier League because they're all truly awful. And okay, look, you can call out the linesman for not flagging for offside yesterday for the first goal. Was it a free kick we gave away? I'm not sure, but you still have to defend them. You still have to, you can't blame the referees because you played to the whistle, and we didn't for the second goal. And Outclass stood off, and it looked like he was offside for the second goal as well. But again, you got to play to the whistle. You can't stop.
No. Play to the whistle and then argue about it afterwards or whatever.
Yeah, because that's what we're all taught as a young age. If you play football, play to the whistle. Don't just stop and hold your hand up and say, "Well, ref, that's offside." No, play to the whistle.
Yeah. Interestingly, and I want to ask you this: with that first goal, it does look offside, but we don't have VAR. Would you sooner? Or would you prefer VAR to be in the Championship this season? Or would you prefer to say, well, that one went against us, we'll probably get one back in a couple of weeks?
I'm off of the second one of those. I would say that because like against Birmingham, Ricardo should have been sent off. And he wasn't. And then we got the red card with Ramsey the following game, I think it was. So, it does even itself out over the season. It just feels because we're shit that it's compounding it even more when we get poor referees.
Yes, yeah. Right, let's just round this up. I did put a poll out on, and he wasn't very happy because it was raining, but But I did put a poll out earlier on X and on Facebook, basically saying, do you still support Marty Cifuentes as the manager? And it was interesting, but I collated it all. Don't waste my Sunday afternoons, collated it all. And actually 46% still support him as the manager. 42 don't, and 11.5 just couldn't make their minds up, which is a bit, if you add that to the nose, it's a bit damning. But do we give him longer? Like you say, is it a case of, look, he's trying to do the job with his hand, one hand tied behind his back. It's not his squad, all those sorts of excuses. Do we give him that time?
I think you have to, not that I'd like to, but I think you have to until at least the technical director comes in and makes his mind up himself, because otherwise you sack the manager, you get Top and Rudkin picking the next manager. If the technical director doesn't like the next manager, then he goes, and then we're back in that sort of routine cycle of who's next. So I think, you've got to wait until we appoint somebody else and then get him gone. But that doesn't mean. So I made a prediction on the last show that it would be the 12th of December when we find out when we get the points deduction. We play Ipswich on the 13th. If we haven't performed and we've lost a few games since up to that point, and we get the deduction and we lose to Ipswich, I think he will be gone by the 14th of December.
Well, these are, again, you're very, very good at knocking these balls across for me. Thank you very much. These are our remaining games of the year, if you like. So next we've got Sheffield United at home this Saturday, and Ronald's just said Sheffield United have just beaten Portsmouth 3-0, and we're at home for that one. Then we've got Derby, and I'm away for that one, thank God. We've then got Bristol, I'm away for that one, and Ipswich, and I'm away for that one as well. I'm back for QPR, Watford, and Derby is on the 29th. So those are our games leading up to Christmas. As we know, they come thick and fast. Sheffield United worry me. Ipswich worry me. In fact, I've got to say, they all fucking worry me.
Yeah, because we're not winning, are we? So, Sheffield United, are they winning? I think they were beating Portsmouth last time I looked. So
they won 3-0. Yeah.
Okay, they won 3-0, right? Derby are hit and miss, but, it's a Derby game to an extent. So they'll be up for it. Bristol City on a Tuesday night is a very difficult place to go, as we found out last time we were in the Championship. And then Ipswich, who are finding form and are, were one of the favourites to get promoted this season. So, I if you were to ask me how many points we will get from these 7 games, I would be honestly, I'd be surprised if we got more than 4 points.
Oh, happy Christmas, ho ho ho!
Exactly.
I'm just seeing. I'm just looking at all the scores here from tonight. Blackburn Rovers lost 1-0 to QPR. Millwall beat Sheffield Wednesday. No shit, Sherlock. Sheffield United beat Portsmouth. Wrexham beat Bristol City 2-0. West Brom and Birmingham are still playing, but that's 1-1 currently at the moment. And that has put us, well, we've dropped one place. We are down to 15th on 24 points. Now, I heard a while ago that it was going to be 9 that we lose. I then saw something where you were saying it might only be as low as 3, which I can't see. I can't see that. 6 plus maybe a couple for being, naughty with sending things off. I think it's going to be around the 9 that would take us to 15 points, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it takes us into the relegation zone.
Yes. Well, at the moment, in fairness, we would sit above Oxford United on goal difference.
Well, true, but if we keep conceding as we are, it won't be long.
Yeah. That's a fair point. And suddenly, it's not so much what we do that's going to affect. And they always say, just concentrate on your own games. That's what's going to, decide what you do. But it's the other games, because a couple of, before these games this week, it wouldn't have dropped us into that close. Would have been 19th or 20th. So, it's a worrying time.
It is a worrying time, and that's why I said 4 points from the next 7. It's a wonderful festive season. I really hope that we get more presents from Leicester City, but I just can't see it. I just can't.
No. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. I believe your wife will better be home by now, unless she's nipped off for a drink.
She's here. She's just gone out to feed the rabbits outside, and then
it's like a menagerie you got there. You got rabbits, you got cats.
We've got 6 rabbits. We my wife has been rescuing abandoned rabbits for the last sort of 20 odd years. So we have 6 at the moment, and we have 2 cats. So
actually, honestly, you are what I would call lazy pet owners, because you've got 2 pets there that don't exactly need a lot of work.
Oh, I don't know. One of them, Lola. So I've had both cats now, for one for 14 years, the other one for 12 years. I came with them. They're my cats. Yeah. Lola is not a cat that is easy to look after. She is a needy son of a bitch. So, there might be times, I guess the other night, where she'll sort of sit down here next to me, purring away. So, I've been away for a night, so she needs all the fuss in the world. But the good thing is, we're not having kids, and this is having different things to look at rather than kids. So
I have to say, having had 4 kids of my own, I think I'd have sooner have had 2 cats. Yes. Mate, thank you very much. And I know December's a really, really busy time for you. So don't know when I'll see you again. If I don't see you before, have a great Christmas.
You should do. I'll try and make it work so we can. I'm about for a couple of bits. It's just this.
What I'll do is for each show that I would normally do with you or special, I'll message you. If you can, you can. If you can't, I understand that with your work. But thanks very much for coming on, mate. Sorry you had to go down, but at least you had a nice hotel to go to.
Exactly. Right, have a good evening, guys. See you
later.
Thank
you, mate. All the best. Bye-bye. Oh, thanks very much there. He had to pop off. His wife's back. So we've all been there. Who wears the trousers? Oh, yes. Right. Okay. So that's it. Couldn't get any worse. Well, I mean, let's just. We know what we're going to play, don't we? We know it has to be played. I have to find it first of all. There we go. So can it get any worse for Leicester City?
It can.
And it probably will. 7 o'clock tomorrow, Prediction League. And then we will have the preview with the Sheffield United fan who will be very, very happy. 9 o'clock tomorrow. You got me for that because Brad's away. And then Friday we'll have the press conference review. And Saturday we've got another watch along. Thanks everybody for coming in. We're Leicester fans. It's what we do. Subscribe and like the video, please, and do everything else that it says down there. I'll see you tomorrow at 7. Have a good night. Take care and sleep well. And don't have nightmares. Don't think about Leicester. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You'd better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.